Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Mongooli Show. Today, I'm joined by my brother Jonathan, and we're going to go over our top 5 Disney animated movies. Jonathan, how are you doing tonight?
Great. Ready to go.
Fantastic. Now, for this list, we are not including Pixar movies or live action movies with animated elements in them like Mary Poppins. Honestly, I don't think Mary Poppins would make my list. Well, it definitely would not make my list anyways, but just for the record, that's what we're going with. They have to be Disney movies, they have to be fully animated. There is a huge list to choose from, so that's what we're going to go with. We're going to go back and forth. Jonathan will give you his number 5, I'll give you my number 5, and then we'll go 4, 3, 2, 1, and then discuss our entire list when we're done. Jonathan, do you want to start us off with your number 5?
Sure. I will say number five was the hardest for me. I felt like there was a lot of movies could fit in this place. I kind of got my one to four really quick, and then I really struggled with what to put in there. And we're talking Disney movies, so there's like 20 honorable mentions. We won't even get into that.
We might touch on that later.
That's right. But for my number five, I finally settled on Moana, which is a newer release, obviously 2016, with a lot of lyrics by Lin-Manuel Miranda, who I really enjoy, and I found a lot of entertaining content with particularly Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And I just thought it was a good, fun movie all the way around. It's one I actually had very low expectations of going in, did not expect to enjoy it, and then my kids have helped me to rewatch it a number of times. I've just found it really holds up to the rewatch, and yeah, it was a pleasant surprise.
Nice.
Uh,
Now, I was looking into Moana, and I thought the exact same thing. I thought the music was, at least in part, done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I could not find that anywhere. And I was
He's
really
not
surprised by that.
he's not credited as a writer anywhere, but if you go into the soundtracks and the songs, he's credited in the lyrics of the
Oh, okay.
songs.
Because that makes
Yeah.
sense, because I swear I'd heard that. And when I was
Yes,
looking it up
I
and it
know.
wasn't true, I was like, oh, that's
I
super
was like,
weird.
better bite my tongue on that before I look like an idiot and somebody on the internet makes fun of me.
Oh,
No
don't worry,
names.
that's coming regardless.
And
Um,
then I watched at the end of the trailer, it actually referenced Lin Manuel Miranda, and I'm like, oh, okay, well then I'm good.
yeah.
And then I went did a little more digging and found it.
Because I know Encanto is Lin Manuel Miranda, so I thought I was getting
Yes,
confused or something, and I was like, I
I
swear
had that thought at
it
one
was
point. Yeah, yeah. My brain, I was worried, was playing little tricks on me.
nice.
Yeah.
All right, for my number 5, I actually am going to go back a little bit further than you, but not super far back. This is a great one from my childhood. This is 1992's Aladdin. Now,
Okay.
this one has a special place in my heart because obviously this would be I would have been about 10 or so when this came out. This came out November
Wow.
25th, 1992. I remember seeing this in theater during Mum's Let's Go to the States while it's really cheap and watch a movie because it's like $2 phase. I
Mm-hmm.
would bet money we actually saw it in the theaters probably twice. But this one holds up so incredibly well. Forget, like, I meant to look up exactly because the budget for this one's actually pretty low at only $28 million. It's the lowest budget by far of any of the
Yeah.
movies on my list. And I was super curious. I forgot to look it up, but I wanted to see how much of that budget was Robin Williams' salary. Because if the live action one taught us anything, it's that nobody can take Robin Williams' place. So, like, whatever
Mm-hmm.
they paid him, it was worth every single penny.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that movie made a ton of money. On
yeah,
that
that
$28 million budget, they went to $500 million.
nice. You did do your research. Good for
I did a
you.
little.
Well
Yeah.
done. Well
For
done.
your list.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure it won't show up on yours at all. I remember getting this and Jurassic Park on VHS for my birthday, probably in '93. That would make sense, right?
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
and just being like, oh my goodness, because like we didn't have a whole lot of VHSs at that time, so getting like two new
Hmm.
additions to that collection was just incredible.
And two pretty good rewatchers. Yeah.
Oh,
That's
very,
excellent. Yeah.
very much.
So I'm a little older than you. I remember seeing Aladdin at the drive-in theater the year it came out, and then the year later I remember watching it on VHS with my girlfriend, my first girlfriend. So it was a different era for each of us. Yeah.
A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I watched it with my mom. You watched it with your
Yeah.
girlfriend. Ah. We both saw it with women. That's all that matters.
That's right.
Shut up, audience.
That's right. Well, he was just playing I Could Show You the World for Mother's Day, too.
Nice. Now, most of the movies on my list, including this one, were credited with 2 different directors. So this was done by Ron Clements and John Musker, and they're one that's going to show up on this list a couple of times. So be on the lookout for those ones.
Interesting. Also, Moana. Same 2 guys, Clements and McCusker.
All right, fine. Just give it away. I guess that makes sense. You talked about it. Fair enough.
I talked about Moana. Maybe we'll have more overlap than I thought.
We'll see. It'd be interesting. I kind of don't want us to, but at the same time, if we do, so be it.
Yeah, well, these are honest ones because we're pretty diverged at this point.
It would be hard pressed. I mean, as I said before we got rolling, I'm a little bit nervous that people are going to be upset with my list because these movies are so attached to their childhoods, right? So like I'm expecting people to have strong feelings toward these movies, and if we don't pick their favorite, then so be it. But
there's going to be some wanker out there watching Fantasia still.
Just going hot. I like it. I like it. Also worth noting, Gilbert Gottfried. I mean, both of the comedic talents in this one are unfortunately no longer with us, but both do a phenomenal job. And I feel like Gilbert Gottfried gets overshadowed by Robin Williams. But if Robin Williams wasn't in this movie, I feel like Gilbert Gottfried would be what people talk about a lot. I think he does a phenomenal job as Iago and is just amazing.
Yeah. If I was going to talk about Aladdin, I would have talked about both those comedians.
That's fair. That's fair.
Also, you got to notice both those comedians keeping it G-rated is phenomenal.
Well, I mean, it's
either of them, really.
I am certain there are outtakes that are not G-rated. Let's just say that and leave it as such. Yeah. It's nice to do editing for things like that, right? Like, they recorded I'm assuming they would have recorded those voices first. No, they would have had to. Never mind. Duh. They record the voices first and then have to draw around it because there's no way Robin Williams is sticking to script. And there's no way that he's going to drop an F-bomb and they're just going to, we'll draw that in. Why not? That's only a couple $100,000
of
dollars
in time.
Draw
it in, but it'd be in the smoke or.
Oh, that's fair. I didn't even think of bringing up those things. I totally
Easter
forgot
eggs,
about that.
Baby, yeah.
I can remember. I can remember. No. Okay, that's picturing like you had your friends over, a bunch of your friends, and I had one friend over, and somebody mentioned like that one scene where like if you turn the volume up at this one scene, he says, "Take off your clothes," and like your friends were like, "Let's check it out," and they like watch the scene like once, and they're like, "Oh, that kind of does sound like that," and my friend rewound it like 19 times, and they're just like, "Okay, dude, time to move on. Let's go." And even I'm just like, "Yeah, dude, like we've heard it." And he's like, "No, that's so cool. What the like they tried to get away with that." We're like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Moving on. I mean, famously, a lot of these Disney movies have something snuck in there by the animators, but who knows how much of it's actually real? I mean, the Little Mermaid one's pretty darn real. I don't know if you.
I have to scan my brain now.
It's on the original box art of the. If you Google it, you'll see it. Don't do it with kids around.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want to do your number 4?
Well, my number 4 is Aladdin.
Hey, I figured it was coming somewhere.
Do you know how much it made? I had number 4 was Aladdin. We have talked about everything I had to talk about Aladdin. Boom.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Really enjoyed that one.
Okay. So kind of like your number 5, my number 4 is also a newer one, not quite as new. I thoroughly enjoy 2010's Tangled. Now, this is the story of Rapunzel, obviously. You got some facts on this one too, do you?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yay! Not a crossover.
I'm just very impressed. Yeah.
I'm just very impressed, and let me tell you how much it made.
Yeah, exactly. No, that was my 5-6. That was one of my 5-6 struggles right there. Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
You were saying that you got to like 4.
This one.
Yeah, you were saying you got to like 4, and then it was hard for you to get number 5. I instantly had 7, and I was like, all right, which 2 do I do not make the list? And that was a little bit of a struggle. And even my top 5 is a little bit liquid. Like I feel like number 1 and 2 could switch, and like 3, 4, and 5 could all rotate depending on the day.
Yeah,
like they're pretty solid top 5, but they're movable. Anyways,
There's definitely.
no,
Go
okay.
ahead.
This one came out on November 24th, 2010, directed by Nathan Guarino and Byron Howard. This one, like, the budget skyrockets. Granted, it's like 18 years later, but we went from $28 million for Aladdin, also, you know, different kind of animation style,
Yeah.
to $260 million. That's an insane amount of money for 14, well, forever, but for 14 years ago, especially for an animated film. It did well, but because the budget was so high, it didn't do as well as Aladdin. So even though it technically made more money at almost just shy of $600 million, $592 million, because that budget is literally half of that, and I'm assuming that budget does include the marketing and all that stuff. I'm hoping the market wasn't on top of that. Like, they only doubled their money, whereas some of the movies on my list, they like quadrupled or even like significantly more so their money. English.
Well, Aladdin is 20 times.
Jeez, so, that is a nice payday.
That's a crazy number.
Yeah. Too bad nobody's getting paid scale on that one.
Well, they made like 70 direct-to-video sequels, so.
That's true. True. Not all with the same cast, though, but yeah.
No.
Yeah, you were mentioning this one's insanely rewatchable. Like, this is one that I have seen so many times.
Yes.
I feel like
it's so much fun. It's so much fun, and you can pilot like helicopter in and see any 10 minutes, and it's entertaining and enjoyable. Yeah.
Mandy Moore does a really good job. Zachary Levi is fantastic in this one. I didn't check out who was the horse. I'm assuming that was an actual person because that's what they like to do. I'm gonna just jump in and say it was Alan Tudyk, even though it probably wasn't, because he seems to animate everything.
His name pops up a bit,
right? But like the horse Maximus, the Flynn Rider, like it's got a great cast. It's so funny. It's very rewatchable. And the only issue with this one is the music is very catchy. The music's very catchy, but the song Mother Knows Best is such an earworm, and my wife legitimately hates it. And not in a like, oh, I don't like that song kind of a way, but in like these are like weird PTSD flashbacks, and I need you to stop singing it because you're legitimately upsetting me. And it's like, okay, got it.
Try not to sing it.
Like, well, and I'll get that. I understand. I'm on board. But like, good luck telling that to my 6-year-old who's just running around the house thinking she's complimenting her mother by saying "Mommy knows best," and she's like gritting her teeth so hard it hurts. Yeah, exactly. I'm actually nervous now that we're talking about it, that I'm going to be singing it tonight as we're laying in bed. Just get swatted. But yeah, no, I think it's just an absolutely phenomenal movie. I think it's so much fun. The stupid frying pan, the horse with the frying pan, like it makes no sense. But of course, it's Disney.
Lots of good visual gags. Yeah, I find this one. I don't even think about the songs when I think about this one. Like Moana. A lot of the strength, a lot of the comedy is in the songs, in the lyrics, Lin-Manuel's touch. And in this one, I find it's a lot of the sight gags and the banter. There's a lot of banter between I was going to say prince and princess, the rogue and princess.
Yeah, no, it's true. I know that there's a song they sing in the bar.
Yeah, I
couldn't for the life of you give you the tune. Like Mother Knows Best is the only one that sticks with me personally, at least. Right. I know there's one in the bar. There's probably one with the parents, you know, with the candles going off into space. I guess there's the one at her being bored at the very beginning when she's just like, oh, I'm going to do this for the 900th time. Right. But like, yeah, just none of them quite hit like Mother Knows Best.
Yeah. The one in the bar is a lot of fun. I can't get it in my head either, but I know there's a lot of good comedy.
Yeah, I had a dream.
Yes,
I had a dream. He's got a dream. I've got a dream. I want more money. That's not a dream. Your dream sucks. Go back to her dream.
That's right. That's all her dream.
Yeah. All right. What do you have for number 3?
I have for number 3. This is my small spoiler, classicest Disney, I think. Okay. This is Cinderella from 1950.
Wow.
Very early on. They're sorry, so much to say.
Out of curiosity, what did animation cost in 1950?
This has a $2.2 million budget apparently,
Wow.
and made 182 million
That's a
worldwide.
nice return on investment. Holy
Yeah,
cow. I
which is
wonder.
like
No, go ahead.
565 million adjusted for inflation.
Wow. I was gonna say, like, I wonder if that's adjusted for inflation, what the 2 million
Yeah,
actually
there
turns
you
into
go.
and whatnot. Like, that's an impressive return.
Yeah,
1950, Snow White was like 38 or something?
37, I think.
37?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we start in 37, so this is, what is that? 13
13 years later?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm just looking at your little graphic here, trying to make out. I think it's number 8 or 10, somewhere in there, somewhere about there.
Yeah, but a
that's
lot of these
including
first
some
ones
shorts that are
don't
put
look like
together
full movies for
into-
sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's the Calabregas one. Or
It's
whatever.
number
So there's
12 on this list.
Yeah.
Assuming this list is accurate. But I mean, I think 3
realistically
of them
for
are real
features,
movies.
you're looking at Snow White, Pinocchio, Bambi.
Fantasia, I will give. Dumbo. Negative, negative,
I can't see
negative,
Dumbo.
negative,
Yeah.
negative. It doesn't look like it's supposed to, but it is Dumbo, number
Yeah.
4.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, they're relatively still early days. Yeah, one of the writers on this was Bill Peet, who's one of my favorite children's authors. He's written
I
like
didn't know
I don't
that.
even know 50 books. Yeah, and
I
his
still
name
read Hermit the
could come
Kermit
up
on a
a few
regular
times.
basis.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I started buying them for my kids and then I kind of quit and gave up. But yeah, when Amazon first was starting, like in the late 90s, I think early 2000, I started buying those, found them on there and started buying them. He was involved in a bunch of Disney stuff. He was involved in at Disney for almost 30 years. He left in 64. Um and he actually designed, he was having some beef, I guess, with Walt himself, and designed Captain Hook to look like a caricature of Walt Disney, and then kind of let the cat out of his bag in his memoir like 20 years after he left. So yeah, he was involved in right from Snow White as an animator, but he's got a writing credit from Pinocchio through to Jungle Book, which is actually after he's left. And so yeah, you can check out some of his other stuff. Also, a couple of fun facts I found. One of the voices of the Wicked Stepsisters, Anastasia, her name was Lucille Bliss, and she becomes the voice of Smurfette through the entire animated TV series. She also was involved in the animated Ewoks series in the 80s, and she was also involved in the early 1978 animated Lord of the Rings. So she's kind of crossed over some pretty big
Yeah, it's
franchises there. Yeah. There's also an actor involved here, the voice of the mice, Gus and Jacques.
Yep.
Is
Happy birthday.
Exactly. James McDonald, and he did a bunch of Pluto voices, and he's credited in all these Pluto shorts, or credited as the Disney Bear.
Yep.
He's in a bunch of shorts with Donald Duck. I think he does a gator roar in a couple of Disney shorts. So I'm wondering if it's kind of like a Wilhelm scream sort of thing, where his growl roar sort of sound is being used over and over, or if they're bringing him in for all this stuff. I don't know. But I thought that was really interesting. He was showing up everywhere. I think
it's funny you said that, because I think I saw it in a different movie. Cinderella's definitely not on my list. An actor with the credit of like Bear Roar or something, and I was like, that's weird, but okay.
Yep.
But that makes sense
made
now.
Me curious. So now I want to look into that a little further. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It's just some fun facts.
Nice.
Your number 3, sir.
Well, I want to touch on this one because this one is significantly older. And if I don't know how to, there's not a polite way to word it, so I just won't. But
old.
No, not where I was going. one of the more classic Disney princess-ish titles. So what's your emotional connection to this one? Why is this one hit number 3 on your list?
Okay, so well, it could be anywhere in my top five, to be
Sure.
honest. I felt well. I mean,
But is this one that's yours, or is this like, oh, I watched it with my kids a lot? Because you've got a lot of daughters.
I've definitely watched it with my kids a lot. It's definitely my favorite. I think favorite of the classic old Disney princess movies, like the
Sure.
pre '80s for sure, Disney princess movies. Um, and I think it's yeah, I think it's just it's not as fun as some of the ones on my list. Although the mice
I was gonna say it's got moments.
comedy. Yeah, I think a lot of the older Disney movies really went into, they were using these old classic stories like Cinderella is from like the 1600s. Some French author wrote it in the 1600s.
Okay.
And so they're using these old stories. They're using this really, a lot of the older stuff, the features were using a lot of this really, classical music, like classically trained soprano singers, and it's like a little hard to listen to the modern ear.
For sure.
Um, and there's a little bit of that seeps into Cinderella. Yeah, partly I thought just representing a good breadth of the Disney canon. And Disney Cinderella was definitely one of my favorites for that. Yeah, so and like you say, partly probably I think it would be my choice to rewatch with my girls. So it's part of the reason that it was a family favorite as well.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a fun story. It's got the like well, I don't know if you remember Sunday Night Disney
Yep.
TV. Sure you would.
I remember it in
But
theory more so than
they
in practice,
took
but yes.
okay, they took clips from Cinderella everywhere. And so in my brain it's kind of like the quintessential Disney movie,
Yeah.
from the princess castle to the logo to the bibbity bobbity boo with the fairy godmother
Yep.
and the coach, like that seemed to show up like any excuse for them to bring out bibbity bobbity boo. So yeah, I think that was part of the reason it
Yeah.
just kind of like in my brain. That's one of the big,
Nope, that's
most
totally fair.
Disneyest Disney movie I could think of. Yeah,
That's totally fair. I just wasn't. I wanted to
yeah.
check if there was like
No, that's a
a
great
direct
question.
connection or like a specific memory that just like brings a smile to your
Mhm.
face or whatnot. But that's a pretty perfect answer. I like it.
Yeah. All right. Very good.
My number 3, keeping with my childhood more so than a lot of these ones that were quite a bit older, is 1994's The Lion King. Now, this
Okay.
is one of Disney's biggest hits. It was kind of the end of the Disney Renaissance that happened in like the early 90s with
Mm-hmm.
Beauty and the Beast, Little Mermaid, Aladdin, and then Lion King, and then it kind of started going back downhill after that. But
Mm-hmm.
this one is I mean, obviously it's a classic story. It's a retelling of Hamlet. It's Shakespeare essentially, but with cats. Well, like who doesn't like cats? Um, movie is definitely the biggest box office winner of the ones on my list with a budget of only 45 million, so like not quite double Aladdin. Brought in 968 million, almost $1 billion, which would have made it the first movie to hit $1 billion at that point, because this came out before Titanic.
Wow.
So that would have been a nice little feather in its cap. Didn't quite make it, but like 968, like that's
That's
impressive to say
crazy.
the
Yeah.
least.
And that's 4 or 5 years before Titanic.
4 years,
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would have had that record for a little
Yeah.
while there
That's
for
right.
sure.
Yeah.
Obviously it's got Matthew Broderick and Jonathan Taylor Thomas both playing the same role of Simba as he sort of ages up throughout the movie. I didn't write his name down. I was hoping I'd remember it, but honestly, I don't even know that I'd be able to pronounce it. Sports Night, the
Yeah.
Robert
Goulier.
Goulier as Rafiki. I love him on Sports Night.
Yep.
Such a good guy. Such a good actor. Jeremy Irons plays a phenomenal villain in Scar.
Mm-hmm.
Just absolutely kills it. The songs in this one are so good. Are they all? I should have looked that up. Are they all Elton John, or is it just in the one romantic one that's that one. But like Be
That's a
Prepared is a
good
great
question.
song. That the
Yeah.
first one that's in like Swahili that nobody actually knows the words to. The Circle of Life, I guess is what that one's called. I Can't Wait to Be King. Like this is one I just forgot about this until just now. When we went down to Florida one time, I had saved up some money and I bought a Game Genie, which was Sega's version of the Game Boy. Not a Game Genie, sorry, not a Game Genie, a Game Gear, which was
Yeah, yeah.
Sega's version of the Game Boy because it had the color screen and it came with the Lion King and the Lion King soundtrack. So that
Wow.
soundtrack is ingrained in my brain because like I didn't have many CDs growing up and mostly I just stole from you, but that was one of the ones that I
Yep.
actually owned. So like a lot of that music is just right in my head. Um and it's honestly it's so good. Like you can go back. It's a shame they keep remaking these Disney movies and in my personal opinion they just make them worse. Like I haven't seen one of the remakes yet that's actually better than the source material. The songs are all just like a little bit different. They all just do it a little bit different. Like I know I've seen The Lion King. I feel like it doesn't have Be Prepared in it or it's vastly different. Like they got rid of, some of the references in that song, if you know what I mean.
They did quite a bit of like updating when they were up. Like they've made a lot of changes to the music that they bring forward and different pieces. Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids inexplicably, my youngest is loves the live action Aladdin, and like can't get her to watch the old animated version.
That's so unfortunate.
Chafes at me.
I mean, whatever. If they're enjoying it, they're
Mhm.
enjoying it. You can't force them to like
Yep.
what they're not going to like. But at the same time, it's like, oh, that is not nearly as rewatchable as the original Aladdin. But anyways, we're
Yes.
talking about Lion King. So
Right.
this would be again sort of like in that age where mom
It
was
also has
taking us
gone
to the
on.
theaters and whatnot, and you're just seeing
Yeah.
whatever is there because it's $2, and how could you turn down a deal that good? Even though you have to drive an hour and a half to get there, and you're definitely gonna like. There were a lot of questionable things with those trips to the States, but whatever.
The oh, I was just gonna say, and this, went on to be a huge Broadway hit for Disney too,
Oh, for sure.
on the strength of those songs, largely, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I haven't seen the Broadway play, but my brother-in-law swears by it. He's seen it multiple times. Just
Well,
absolutely
what's
loves it.
funny? There's a scene in Sports Night where she talks to Robert Guillaume
Oh, really?
about going to see The Lion King on Broadway.
I definitely never put that together. That's fantastic.
Too good.
I guess I mean it's just worth mentioning also James Earl Jones as Mustafa.
Oh,
I mean, obviously he's phenomenal, right? Like
yeah.
he's been great in literally everything that he's done. But that role is so magical. I mean, they stole it a little bit on Simpsons, even with them talking through the clouds and whatnot. Like,
Hmm.
just
Yeah.
just really really well done.
He makes a great dad of bratty kids. Yeah.
Has he? Are you talking about Luke Skywalker? Like, what do you mean here? Weird reference, but okay. Which is, in fact, now a Disney movie. So
There you go.
there you
It
go, full
all
circle.
comes full circle.
Yep. Weird.
Oh.
All right, Jonathan. What is do your? Let's do our top two, and then we'll get like a couple of honorable mentions before we go into the number one. Sound good?
Okay.
All right. What's your number two?
My number two is Winnie the Pooh. The
Really?
Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, the 1977 theatrical release. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I love this movie. It really closely follows the books. The books are really well written. And a lot of the humor is very like caught up in the language. I really enjoy that. Um, and yeah, this was one actually you used to rewatch, I think, when you were really little. I think you learned how to rewind a VCR so you could watch this on loop when you were like 3 years old. So
I
this
don't
one I've
remember that
seen.
whatsoever, but I will trust you.
You just have to believe me. um, and so yeah, that's yeah, I got you. You're starting technology, dude. So there you go. I
So you're
think
saying Winnie the Pooh is to blame for all of this?
all of this.
Wow. Oh, bother.
My dad brought our VCR to the school, which didn't own a VCR, and we watched The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh with my class in kindergarten, in Mrs. Gillespie's kindergarten class. Uh yeah. And so this movie goes all the way back for me.
Apparently.
um yeah, yeah. And we're the same age. So there you go.
What
Boom.
you said 77?
Yeah. Um
Oh, there it
so
is.
I
Okay.
had two different release dates. I have both a March and a May release date online. So I don't know what's going on with that, but they're both in 1977. So we're good. Same age as Star Wars. It's a very good year, is all I'm saying. Walt
2 out of 3 ain't
Disney
bad.
bought the rights to this and realized that the American population was not as familiar with Winnie the Pooh as the British population. And so he broke it into 3 short stories, released the shorts before feature films, which they're doing all the time anyway, over a period of 10 years. And then, having created the audience for it, put the 3 stories back together. So this is like a labor of love for, like, over a decade for him.
Yeah.
And he wasn't around to see it completed. Um, Depending on who you ask, it's sort of one of the last movies he worked on, because the first short came out the year he died.
Okay.
And he had said one of his favorite scenes of, like, Disney of all time was the one where Pooh gets stuck in the hole and
Yeah.
Rabbit's like decorating his butt with the shelf and the paint and all this stuff. He said that he thought that was hilarious. And so anyway, so he worked on this one forever, and then, like, from buying the rights to the thing coming out as a theatrical release,
Yeah.
was like a 15-20 year span. So phenomenal there. A bunch of the actors, it was the last work that they did. The narrator passed away like a week or two after the film came out in the theaters.
So you're saying it's cursed.
I'm saying a lot of people didn't do anything else.
Okay. Okay.
You draw your own conclusions, but obviously it is cursed. Yes.
Clearly. The Macbeth of the animated world.
That's right. Exactly. Winnie the Pooh, the actor, retired. He did have some television credits, but they'd said it was his final film.
Sure.
And then the rabbit, the voice of the rabbit, and the voice of Kanga both also passed away in a couple of years after, having not worked on anything else. So. Also, when you make a movie over 15 years, I guess that's going to happen. So
that's fair. I have no real recollection of this movie, and at the same time, I would bet money that if you played it now, I'd be like, "Oh, this scene, okay, that's not fair."
Yeah.
I shouldn't say I have no recollection of this scene. I couldn't, because there's a lot of Winnie the Pooh shorts and animation and stuff like that, and like TV show even. I couldn't tell you definitively what's I've seen that is in this film versus what is in something else Winnie the Pooh.
Right.
But I'm sure if I was to watch this, it'd be like, oh, I remember this. I remember this. Because as soon as you mentioned like the hole when he's decorating his butt, I was like, yep, that checks out.
Yeah. That's imprinted in your 4-year-old brains.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. The 3 shorts are Winnie the Pooh and the Honey Tree. And he's on a quest to grab honey. He ends up getting stuck eating rabbit's honey and fattening up on it. It should have been a moral tale for us, but we didn't learn that lesson.
But he draws on his butt, so he. Clearly, I learned my lesson about gluttony.
This is what I'm saying.
Right? Yeah. Stuck with me.
Yeah.
What I actually took was just, oh, honey's good.
Exactly. If it's good, you should keep eating it.
For sure.
Until you can't get out the door. Also, why did he use Rabbit's back door? I don't know.
I don't have answers.
And then the blustery day is when the Owl's house blows over or something. And then the third one is the introduction to Tigger. And I think there's a whole heffalump thing going on in that one as well.
Heffalump?
Dude, really?
Just asking the questions, man. Just asking the questions.
You literally saw this 1,000 times. Heffalumps are their psychedelic elephants.
Pink elephants?
No, that's Dumbo.
I know.
You watched that,
That
a
one
lot
I know.
too. Oh my goodness.
That's a talk about earworms. That song will get in your head for days. Song's evil. Anyways,
the Heffalump sequence does have some callback to the pink elephants. Yeah.
so my number 2, as I'm sure this is predictable because people have, I had all the facts ready to go on this one. My number 2 is Moana. It's the newest one on my list. I love this movie. The music in this is so incredible. The performances are hilarious. I
thought I was going to get so much crap.
Oh, the internet maybe, but not me. Not me. Can I show you this?
And this is one we have no overlap here. This is just our excellent taste superseding everybody else's crappy opinion.
You kept talking, and I'm pretty sure I cut to a scene where you had no audio. But yes, give me 1 second. You can see my screen, right?
I can see your screen.
Cool. So that photo right there is my brother-in-law, myself, and Alan Tudyk, who is the voice of many, many things, including Hey Hey the Chicken. And I want nothing quite as much in this world as I want to see the video footage of Alan Tudyk in a recording studio recording the lines for a chicken as it's going crazy out at ocean. I know you can see like 8-second clippets, but he must have done that for like 45 minutes to an hour at least. I want to see the whole thing.
Days. He was days in the studio just getting it right.
Yeah, there's a scene where he's just like, I went to Juilliard.
Oh.
The music in this is phenomenal. Dwayne Johnson's fantastic. Like, you think he does the role very well. People argue that he doesn't sing the song. He just kind of like talks his way through it. Whatever. It's memorable and you know it. The giant crab with the shiny song is so funny. That's somebody mentioned his name earlier when I was talking about him. It's just everything about this movie. And honestly, this is so to touch for a second on something I don't necessarily want to go super far into. But for the rest of the audience, there was a period fairly recently where I was going through a pretty tough time, was dealing with some like PTSD from work and stuff like that, right? And the song How Far You'll Go, that's not quite right, but it's something very similar to that.
How Far I'll Go.
How Far I'll Go.
Yeah.
Wrecked me every single time. But like in a weird, good, like almost cathartic.
In a good way.
Right? Yeah. But it was one of those songs where like it was on my actual playlist for a little while. Like some of these songs like have transcended the movie. I just think it's so good. Jermaine Clement, thank you very much. Is the crab. And the story idea of like, because obviously the story is about the little girl, but to some extent it's also about the father letting go of his little girl and letting her explore the world and reach out and go beyond her breadth and go beyond the comfort zone, which, I mean, as you and I are both obviously fathers of many daughters,
we're totally against that.
Well, I mean, it hits home pretty hard. Like, your kids are actually across the ocean right now.
Yes,
mine are still firmly at home and for many years, but it hits on so many levels. I think the movie's absolutely beautiful. I still find it funny. There's still scenes in that, even though I know the jokes are coming. This, like, I am still falling, just gets me. Like, the performance on that is so good. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about this movie. There's only one that I can say that I enjoy more, obviously, but this as I said, this one gives number one a good fight. Like they're neck and neck. I think I'm correct in putting this at number 2, but honestly, give me a week and it can change.
I just had a funny thing about the crab. Lin-Manuel Miranda said that his inspiration for the whole Shiny song and that character was based on David Bowie.
That checks out.
Right? And even the vibe of the song, like, it's in there. Like, you listen to it again, you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah. This was also, by the way, a huge success for Disney. I feel like it was kind of quiet because it was in between all the, like, how many Frozens there are now, I don't even know or care. More than me. And it comes around with, it makes $700 million for them. So a monster success, but it kind of just got lost in the shuffle, I thought, for a lot of people, and that's why I like putting it on my list. I thought this is gonna be a sleeper, but here we are agreeing. So
Yeah, no,
yeah,
that's a fair point. November 23rd, 2016, budget of 150, made way more than that with $687 million. As you
yeah,
said,
7 times.
like
Wow,
I
I can't
think
do math.
I think a lot of
Five
movies
times.
kind of got swept under the rug to some extent because Frozen was such a monster hit. Like
Yeah,
we talked about Tangled earlier.
yeah. Same
Uh
deal with Tangled.
and
I agree.
Tangled
Yeah,
is one of those movies I think it's so much better than Frozen,
a
but it
thousand
just
times
came
better.
out at
Yeah,
the wrong time and just got completely encompassed by it. And to
yeah.
some extent, I think this one did as well, even though it is quite a few years
Years
later. I still
apart.
feel
Yeah.
like the Let It Go and the Elsa and Anna was so strong branding.
Nobody had let it go yet.
Yeah, ironically, yes.
Yeah.
So
I I don't care for Frozen. I don't know what about it. It just doesn't do. I think the singing, the music is very well done. I think Kristen Bell does a really good job in that, but it just doesn't something for me.
I think
Yeah.
it was really good the first time or two, and um the twist, I'm gonna call it, with the
Hmm.
bad guy was legitimately a good twist. Like I did not see
Yep.
that coming. I think they did a good job with the film, but it just doesn't hold up to rewatches. Like there's nothing in that movie.
Yeah.
No, there's one or two jokes that I still find amusing when I watch it now, but for
Yeah.
the most part, I'm over it. I'm done with the songs. And there's movies on this list that I've seen way more times than Frozen
Oh yeah.
that I'm
Without
just like, no,
getting
I'd
burned
watch
out
that
on it.
again right now. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not entirely sure what it is about it, but yeah, definitely Frozen is
Yeah.
not making this list for me. So
Yeah.
uh,
Frozen feels like a movie, a cartoon kids movie made for adults that doesn't succeed at either for me.
fair.
Because the quality is there. It feels like they put the effort in, but then it
Yeah.
just somehow doesn't something. Yeah.
No, that's totally fair.
Yeah.
Now, I
It's
mean,
all
my
about magic, but
kids
there's no magic.
loved this one. So like
Are
this
we
one was
on
on
number
repeat in
one
my
or are
house
we
for a
on
long time. No, we're
Frozen or
still
are
on
we on
Frozen now. Like
Moana?
I guess
Oh,
we're
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
I got
Fair.
lost in this. Yeah.
That's
Sharp turn.
we just randomly spew. That's
Right
fine.
off a cliff. Frozen was big. Yeah. I've both Frozens, unfortunately, over and over and over.
Ooh,
Yeah.
my kids did not. I mean, my kids liked Frozen because it was a movie experience for them, but like I don't think they've rewatched it more than twice. Like it didn't have anywhere near the same appeal.
The second one you're
The
saying?
second one, Frozen 2. Frozen 1
Yeah. Yeah.
nonstop because the twins were super young. Frozen 2
Yeah.
once or twice.
My youngest one got on the Frozen 2. I don't know if the other kids really enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
the youngest one gets to rewatch whatever they want, as you know.
Oh yeah. Okay, now before we jump into our number ones,
Did we ever talk about our personal criteria? How did you make your list?
we definitely didn't.
I know we didn't.
Oh, 1 second. I'm gonna let you talk for a second. I think somebody's actually responding to me with what I need.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk a little bit about my criteria because I had to think about a criteria. These movies are so beloved. There's so many good Disney movies. This list could be a top 20, and there'd be 20 good movies to pick from. There are a bottom of the list that I would love to just burn on. But right, like my personal criteria is pretty high for a Disney movie to get to the top 5 of the list. I feel like it has to be a movie that works for kids and it works for adults, and because it's a Disney movie, it has to work to rewatch it 1,000 times because I'm gonna have to anyway. And so those are some of the things I'm looking for, and as a part of all that, I think there has to be humor that works on a few different levels. Not saying it has to be like double entendres, and other people have gone that way, but just there, it has to have some slapstick for the really young kids. It has to have some visual humor. It has to have catchy songs that contain some humor. And it has to have some of that higher plane, some lyrical, some wordplay, some banter that the adults are going to pick up on and enjoy and hear again and again on the rewatch. You're just getting new stuff out of the speed of the back and forth. So that's where you see things like Aladdin or Lin Manuel's lyricism just pops because you're watching it for the 100th time and you get something new, or it just tickles your funny bone in a different way.
Nice.
That was the criteria I was looking for. And you were actually really astute at pointing out, like, Cinderella was the odd one out on my list, where it felt like, how do I make a Disney list without a Disney movie on there? Uh, and so it felt like it kind of like, it is one we really enjoy, but it's a little bit more, it's not that. Yeah. It's kind of like the classic Disney vibe, not these other movies. So I lost track of where we were going. Were we going to honorable mentions?
You were going to
talk about your criteria.
The criteria.
I hijacked you.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I
had to think a lot about the criteria for this one, so I wanted to talk about.
No, that's fair.
Ended up being. What was your criteria? How did you make your list?
My criteria with a lot of the lists that I'm making right now. Okay, so, well, we'll get into that later. With a lot of the movies that I with a lot of movies that I put in lists like this, Black Cauldron was an option Green Tuckian. I've never seen it. It was one of the ones I was hoping to watch before this happened. I just never got around to it. But I don't think it would have made either of our top fives regardless. But yes, it was technically an option.
An option for what?
For the list.
Sorry.
Like it technically is viable. Yeah. Honestly, like I don't know that I put as much thought into this one because this one is a little bit more cut and dry. So when I say that, what I mean is, like, if it's a Disney animated film, there's a finite amount of that, right? So when I look at the list of, I think it's 61 movies,
5 out of 7.
I just go that one. Okay, trim 3. Right? Like it wasn't like I wasn't like, oh, it has to have this, it has to have that. I have to, because like I'm not terribly concerned with making sure that I've got one of everything on this list, because then it's not my list. Then it feels like it's almost hijacked by agency. Whereas like everything on this list, I would watch tomorrow with my kids fairly happily. Not saying that they would be like, oh my gosh, kids, let's sit down and watch Aladdin. But like if my kids were like, Dad, I'd really like to watch Aladdin. Okay.
Right.
I could do that. That's fine.
Or and I would argue my criteria was that ultimately, because I'm looking for the humor and the appealing to everybody and the rewatchability, that it had to kind of fit that box as well. Yeah.
Do you have any honorable mentions? Like you said, you got to 4 and then it was kind of tough to get to number 5, whereas I had to like 6 or 7 and had to cut down.
I didn't have trouble coming up with more. 4 were obvious to me, and then there was about 5 to 10 that was like, any of those could be my number 5 and I'd be happy. So I got the honorable mentions down to 3, I think. But
yay! Jonathan's movie honorable mentions, Christmas honorable mentions was what, like 37 or something?
2 pages.
Yeah, it was good times.
No, I got Tangled, which you've mentioned.
Yep, good one.
The Emperor's New Groove, which
okay.
I feel is like, I had to go back and check that it wasn't a direct-to-video. Like, I felt like it was probably just the timing in my life, because it was in between being a kid and having a kid for me. And so we rented it with my oldest quite a bit back in the dollar video rental days.
Sure.
And so we saw it lots. I'm sure we ended up buying it and the sequel and the whatever. But I find that one super rewatchable. David Spade and John Goodman, and just a ton of fun. Also brings that like several layers of humor. Lots of fun in that one. But yeah, I was like, is that even a Disney movie? Did that go to the theater too? Which it totally did. So it was legit. And my third one was, of course, Little Mermaid. That was one I really enjoyed. I feel like the songs hold up, but I feel like when you watch it, it looks a little bit dated in a way that, like, none of the 80s and 90s Disney really does. So I'm not sure what that's about.
That's not where I thought you were going there. I thought it's a very different movie as a father than it was as a kid.
Yeah, also listen to your dad.
He right?
Like, right.
Oh, King Triton was right this entire time. Ariel's an idiot.
1,000%. Yeah. And somehow there's a happy ending when no one listened to him once. Yeah. You know
Yeah.
why? Because he had to solve all the problems. Yeah,
Right. Yes.
exactly.
You always
I'll
have a
just
happy
show
ending
up,
when dad
do
steps
all
in
the
and just
work,
kills everyone.
risk my life. Yeah. You guys go have your happy little wedding. Very Father the Bride.
Yeah, no. Double O Gold,
Yeah.
way happier ending than the original story. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Oh, too good.
Oh man.
Those were the I could go on and on. Somebody mentioned Sleeping Beauty. I had to actually rewatch part of Sleeping Beauty. I was rewatching parts of it last night, trying to sort out if that came into the honorable mentions at all. I really enjoy the story. I really like the dragon fight. That's one of my favorite like Disney Prince Night moments. Like I feel like that we don't get a lot of that.
Yeah.
um, and so that was really that is really good. So that was another one that came into my honorable mentions. I feel like if I do any more honorable mentions, I'm going to get people yelling at the screen at home and my home, and also maybe give away my number one. So there we go.
Totally fair. So I mentioned I feel like I'm forgetting one. I'm just going to grab that list super quickly. So two of my
there is
three...
an era in the 60s, I think, late 50s or mid 60s to the 1970, where you could put almost any of those Disneys up against anything on our top five, I think, and it would hold up. It's just a matter of preference right there, too. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's worse.
Yeah.
So the two that were like 100% are Beauty and the Beast and Little Mermaid. Because there is that, like, I don't know if it's actually a 4-year window, but it's a 4-movie window where like Disney was on fire. Like maybe that's just because I was young at the time. That's totally possible.
No, that's.
But
I
like
think,
those
yeah.
4 movies in a row were just like, oh man, just banger after banger. So good. Music is phenomenal. All of them. They're very rewatchable. All 4. But when it came right down to it, I did have to make some cuts, unfortunately. I don't know if I agree with you on the animation in Little Mermaid, but maybe I need to watch that one again somewhat recently and just kind of
if it and maybe like a Blu-ray cut is better, but it seemed like I was watching some stuff online and it just looks it's like faded or something. It's like the color's just not there. I don't know if that's part of trying to be underwater or what, but it's like everything's just a little bit grayed out. So
yeah. I'm looking at this list. I didn't realize Big Hero 6 was one of the eligible movies. It wouldn't have made my top 5, but it is a very good one. I like that one.
It's very good. Yeah.
My kids love Encanto. I love the music in Encanto. I do not care for the actual movie Encanto.
I still have not figured out what the message of Encanto was. I'm still disappointed she's not got a... Even if you're not special at all, which you obviously aren't, you're not terrible.
Everybody's a little bit special.
But not you.
All right. Do you want to give us your number 1 Disney animated movie of all time?
I got lost in my notes here. Yes.
That's fine. I feel like I should have had a drum roll or something going on as I said that.
I am very excited to give you my number 1. My number 1 Disney movie of all time is Robin Hood, the 1970 animated animal classic. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Somebody in chat just said, "Hey, I'm running late. Did somebody mention Robin Hood?" Like literally as you were saying
Not
it.
yet. Yeah. Almost blew it. Yeah. Yeah, this is just all the way through everything about it. The songs are a lot of fun. They're not the big artsy songs you get in the classic Disney with the Cinderella or the newer stuff you get with kind of this new era with the Frozen and things like that. But it's fun all the way through. I find it immensely rewatchable. My kids have all enjoyed it, and that's over 50 years later. It doesn't look like the best Disney movie. It doesn't sound like the best Disney movie, but the story is there. The characters are good. The humor is there. I think it hits on my criteria, which isn't those criteria. So Yeah,
Fair.
that's my brief argument for Robin Hood. Mentioned this list coming up to a few different people, and I already kind of had my like I said, first four set in stone, and a few different people said to me, "Well, there's only one right answer."
Did this
And
one, was this like a snap call?
also,
Like this was your number one, like from the very beginning?
oh yeah,
Oh
yeah. I
wow.
didn't
Okay.
even. I had to like look at the pictures to make sure. Look at the list of what was eligible to make sure I wasn't forgetting anything. But that was my number one right from go.
Fair enough. Yeah, this is one that my youngest just recently started watching because she's watching it with our dad. So
Oh
this is
yeah,
like she knows this as the grandpa movie, right? Like she knows
yes,
what it's
yeah. My
called, but
dad
like she
loves this
references it as this one.
movie. Yeah,
I
my
haven't
dad
seen this
loves
one in
this
a
movie. My kids
long
love this
time,
movie.
but like I was
Okay.
like, oh, we should watch this. Like, how do you feel? Like, should we watch this? And she's just like, that's a grandpa movie, and I'm just like, fair enough. So I
Wow.
was not allowed to rewatch this one with her.
Nice.
That's where most of my rewatches came, was watching it with my youngest. But she's like, no,
Nice.
that's a grandpa movie. I'm like, okay, fair. Yeah, I like Robin Hood quite a bit. It's been a long time since I've seen it. The story is fantastic. The music is, I don't know if I could do word for word, but at the same time, the tunes are just ingrained in my brain.
Yeah. I
Oodalali,
hum those
oodalali,
songs.
golly,
Yeah.
what a day.
Yeah. Some of those songs are my default setting songs. I
I
just
just
like
picture you
wake
getting
up,
like,
it'll be one of those.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you take a fall,
Reboot
hit
it.
your head, just like, oodalali.
It's the opening lines. Robin Hood and Little John running. I just get that. That just starts my day. Yeah.
Oh wow. That's all you needed to say in my brain. It's like, oh, I do remember the songs. Yeah, yeah. No.
Yep. Yeah, you do.
This is one that we had as a, it's weird how your brain works. We had a copied version of this off of like when you record off TV. Wow, I don't know why that
Yeah.
was so hard to
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
And so the ending of this, where they're walking off, I think they walk off into a storybook, if I remember correctly. It's been a minute. Like that cuts to an old TV show in my brain that like if I was to watch this movie on Disney
like
Plus or something, it'd be just like
Family Ties.
Where is I was gonna say, what are the two women? Anyway, that's so far not important.
Kate and Allie?
Yeah, Kate and Allie. I was thinking it was Kate and Allie. But like my brain would probably watch this movie and just be like, why aren't there people in, like, what's going on here? Yeah, this is one I haven't seen in myself. I might have to go back and watch this one recently, honestly.
You've got to
'cause,
rewatch
like,
this one. Yeah.
It's been so long, and even just talking about it, I'm just like, yeah, that might be the right call. Not necessarily as number one, but definitely something that should have been a rewatch, should have been on the list.
Yeah. Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So
do you actually have, I didn't look this one up obviously, but do you have the box office on that one? I'm just super curious. If you don't off the top of your head, don't look it up.
I was looking up all this stupid trivia. The another thing about this thing, it's probably a very interesting
only interesting if you finish the sentence.
I was gonna say there's like tons of this movie are actually cut from other Disney movies of the era. They had just made The Jungle Book. They had just made, I lost you. They had just made Aristocrats like 3 years earlier. And so there's like a scene of Maid Marian dancing.
Yep.
And it's like, cut.
Oh,
You can overlay it. Like it's the exact same as the cat from Aristocrats dancing.
The second you said that, my brain connected those dots that I have never connected in the past.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that in this movie. There's a bunch of silly, un-Disney-like errors.
Interesting.
Prince John's crown, the jewels are changing colors. Characters have different numbers of fingers in different sequences. Like, I've got it my number one, but I'm admitting there is some sloppy stuff in this that you don't often see.
You didn't notice it as a kid, I'm sure, though.
That's right, yeah. Some of them, I think the jewels maybe I noticed. Some of them were familiar to me just hearing about them. I was listening to this walking home from work, and I was like, yeah, I did notice that. Yeah. There's a character with a cast on a leg, and it switches legs at a few points. like which leg is got a cast. There's a scene where the sheriff walks up to a well and then they just kind of reverse it with him walking away from the well, like it kind of looks like a glitch
Okay.
in the Matrix. It's really a bizarre scene. There's a scene where the anyway, there's a bunch of these there's a whole you can watch YouTube videos on this stuff, but I guess you are.
That's fair.
The sheriff's badge moving and just crazy stuff there. So I imagine it would be very interesting to know kind of what that numbers look like. Oh, here we go. I'm looking looks like a $5 million budget with a initial 32 million gross in the US. So that's a really good return, actually.
You say $5 million budget?
Yeah.
And this is
73.
Wow.
So
that's a significant chunk of change.
Yeah. But yeah, seems like maybe some corners got cut that would normally get cut. There's usually pretty good quality control, like for Disney, those kind of glitches and stuff. I mean, they maybe some intentional stuff, but not just silly errors like that. So
Sure.
Yeah.
You almost wonder if that's on purpose, just trying to make the budget work a little bit. But
yeah.
So my number one, you actually have touched on already, but it was in your honorable mentions.
Oh.
My number one is Emperor's New Groove. Which is,
really,
as you said, barely a Disney movie. And the most rewatchable movie maybe I've ever seen.
I love that that's your number one.
So incredibly funny. Not every line, but like the vast majority of the movie is quotable. It's rewatchable. My kids love this one, so it'll be just playing in the van, and just certain lines will get me when I'm not even watching the movie.
Yeah. Yep.
It's so funny. No music to speak of, I guess, other than maybe his theme song. But you don't really miss it. I guess, yeah, okay, they do have the Cusco song at the very beginning.
Yeah. Cusco.
Just a really weird Disney movie, completely out of nowhere, but so funny, so well done. I had to write his name. Patrick Warburton just absolutely crushes it as Kronk. Although his own movie was not good, but so be it.
It's not as good. I'm getting hate on the internet right now, aren't I?
No, you're fine. You brought up good movies. People are just like, what? Where is this one? Where's this one?
Now the hate comes.
Yeah. We just had to get to number one. That's all.
I was expecting to fight with you, actually, quite a bit more.
No, so the thing is,
I did lose track of how many overlap we did because of the honorable mentions, but
I was thinking that I should have written down what your actual list was, but so be it. We had a decent amount of overlap.
No, just Aladdin and Moana. So 2. I was right. I was wrong about which 2 by quite a bit, but I had Aladdin picked, and I guessed. I thought maybe Robin Hood would be on yours.
I thought about it, but it's been so long since I've seen it, and Charlie wouldn't rewatch it with me, so
yeah.
I mean, sure, I could watch Robin Hood by myself, but that just doesn't feel like it's going to be a good time. The Emperor's New Groove, just going back to it for one quick second, was released in 2000 and was by far the worst performing Disney movie that I took a look at. With a budget of $100 million, it only brought in $169 million.
Oh.
Didn't even double its budget, which is just brutal considering we're looking at other movies that are
Disney
like
movie,
20 times
animated?
their budgets.
Yeah.
Now, $100 million is pretty up there for some of these ones, but even so, like
That's
the average one we're seeing is
budget at the time. That seems really surprising to me. I wonder if that's what that's about. Like, I mean, there's stars in this movie.
Like you've got David Spade, you've got John Goodman. Yeah, like the animation you wouldn't think would be as expensive as CG at the time.
Well, I'm wondering, is it animated or is it CG? I'm wondering if it's animated. I'm wondering if that's
Eartha Kitt, yes, great actress. Pull the lever, wrong lever.
So good. Oh,
The diner scene. I could just it's all good. It's all good. There's no fat to trim on that one. And there you have it, folks. Our top 5 Disney animated movies. What do you think? Do you agree with our list? Do you strongly disagree with it? Let me know down in the comments below. And honestly, this is over an hour long already, so if you've made it this far, you must have enjoyed this video. Please consider hitting that like button. It really does help it a lot. And hit subscribe if you haven't already. It'll help this channel grow significantly. If you want to hang out with us live, you can go over to twitch.tv/The Mongooli Show, and we are live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to talk about movies. It's not always with Jonathan. I'm going to have different guests on, but that's where you can find us if you want to join the conversation. Other than that, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you in the next one.